From the land of sky blue waters, welcome to the Sota Pod. Isha Reviews here alongside SETH TOUPAL momentarily. And I thank you all for joining us wherever and whenever you are listening. If you guys can't hear my voice, still fighting something. Yes, that's right. A week later, it came back, it faded, and then it crept back. So this is going to be a shorter show. We do have a hoppy hour, a little bit more of a comical hoppy hours. I do my best to review the beer with a compromised palate. Good thing I've had it before, so I was still able to talk about my first experience with it. And yeah, and you guys just get to see funny scenes of me just downing lemon, hot water, and honey between takes. But we got through it. We will have a hoppy hour. As always, if you're listening on the podcast here, to get the full experience of the show, to get the full experience of the podcast, go check us out on YouTube, as I post the full episode of the Sota Pod on YouTube, and you just get a better experience watching the hoppy hours versus listening to them. But if you're a podcast guy or gal through and through, utter respect to you, and I really appreciate all the support you show this show. Before we dive into the hoppy hour, we do have a little hockey talk here today. Shorter show, but Seth will be on soon. We're going to talk about Liam Ohgren. We talked a little bit about his AHL debut last week. Oh my goodness, his NHL debut was great, and his second game was amazing. We'll talk about that. Jesper Wallstedt, we'll talk about him as well. I mean, it's the young gun invasion at the end of the year here, now that the Wild are officially out of the playoff. I will also pose a few positives going into next season, a few positives in this, dark back end of the season where the team I cover here, your favorite team, the Minnesota Wild, aren't going to be making the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll talk a little bit about the Denver NCAA Frozen Four champions as well. I didn't go to either of the games, but I was downtown hanging out for the two games on Thursday, starting from their respected playoffs, the NCHC playoffs, into the Frozen Four. Seth and I will quickly talk about them as he was downtown on Saturday as well. Few NHL topics, primarily focusing on the Arizona Coyotes, Vancouver Canucks, and one series that you guys should catch in junior hockey the remainder of the week. I streamed 7.5 hours like this yesterday, guys. I know. It was rough. It was rough. Before we dive into the hoppy hour here and go to Mankato Brewing, that segment of the show is sponsored by our friends at Northland Vodka, ladies and gentlemen. Northland Vodka is the best damn vodka and a very affordable vodka as well in the great state of Minnesota. Works well with mixed drinks. Shout out to the vodka and Fresca. Funny enough, Hoppy and myself each our favorite mixed drinks with vodka, but I like vodka straight as well. I like it straight, and I will drink it neat when it's Northland because it's just, Mark Parrish has the best recipe. It's a great local company, and we love supporting local. A percentage of every sale goes back into the community, goes back into local hockey as well, which is amazing. Shout out to those who caught up with Mark Parrish and the crew at the Total Wine Maple Grove location. Don't forget to follow them on social media, or Mark Parrish on social media, to find out where their next signings, bottle signings, and just meet and greets will be. We're big fans of Northland Vodka, the product, the people. Hey, support local, support Northland Vodka, a proud supporter of the Sota Pod.
First, I'd like to propose a toast to UMD goaltender Alex Stalock. To Stalock! To Stalock!
I love that stuff. Been drinking it for years. I heard they recently decided to add more hops to it.
You're all hopped out?
So what's the best time for you? We could play your games, but I could never see me lose. And I've been checking out your moves. You will slip and slide, but I can always catch your groove. I've been hurt before and saw you inside me. Pulling on my heart, all the strings will fly, see. You can take the cake, I'm just icing. Blow so quick, never fuck with the Pisces. But I learned quick. We could change shape in a take. With a broken heart and nights apart, I'm wide awake and I'm just still thinking about you. Baby, I've been doing all I can, and baby, I'm not built to fight like on the daily. But you know I just need a little training, and now I'm a little too much.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Hoppy Hour here on the Sota Pod. And this week, we have a favorite of mine. Yes, I have had this beer before. I'm not talking about this beer necessarily being one of my favorites, but the style, definitely one of my favorites. Now, it's up there. I gave it a pretty high rating on Untappd, and even some of my friends, Hoppy included, who aren't big West Coast IPA fans, those who don't necessarily go to a West Coast first over a New England or a hazy, for example, they rate this pretty high as well. So let's get right into it. The Mad Butcher from Mankato Brewing. Again, this is a hops forward West Coast IPA. Love the can art that Mankato Brewing Company create. Kind of comic style. Really, really cool stuff there. And it's awesome they do collaborations with other big breweries, especially Lupulin, as their can art is equally impressive. So on the can it says, this West Coast IPA has a specific Citra Mosaic Pacifica hop blend that was Mad Butcher's favorite. Our golden promise, the main malt in this brew is a tribute to his memory of being a beer-loving butcher. Floral, citrusy, coming in at 40 IBU and 6% this West Coast IPA. Let's take a sip here. Again, I'm a little sick right now, so my palate might be a bit compromised, but that's why I decided to choose this one this week, because I have had it before and I can lean on my notes from Untappd. I will give my raw reaction to sipping it right now, and then we'll take a look at what everyone said on the review apps, Untappd in particular. Cheers, everybody. Haven't drank beer in a few days, still super sick. That's why I had that reaction. It just went down hard with my throat being so sore. That was just, that was not green tea. So that's why I reacted that way. It actually is, fuck, this is incredible. Slower this time. Man, definitely palate is a little out of whack here because I'm mostly just getting the hops, but like it is so citrusy and not a blood orange like that last IPA that we tried a couple weeks ago from Falling Knife. This has it all going on. A good balance of bitterness, that hops forward taste you get in a West Coast IPA. Very well balanced in the sweetness of it. It's not overpowering, which kind of dilutes what you want in this style of beer. And the citrus, it's just like a good mix of it all, man. It's just a good mix of it all. This is incredible. Not light, but not as rich as you would think. Just looking at it and reading off what's in it, how it's advertised, etc. Wow, this is incredible. Everyone on Untappd generally has it anywhere between 3.58 and 3.78, which is 100% fair. I even gave it a 3.78. Now, can you make an argument that it's a 4? Sure. For those who don't know, by the way, to put anything 4 out of 5 on Untappd is just, like, it has to be God tier, right? It has to be, like, the best beer that you've ever had sort of thing. I'm dying. Because rarely you'll see anything even, like, above 4.2 on the app. Hoppy, citrusy, smooth, fruity, balanced. I mean, that's what everyone else is saying. That's what I said as well. Smooth, it probably is a lot more smooth. And I honestly should be doing beer reviews when I'm not sick. Wait, I shouldn't be doing beer reviews when I'm sick. Not the healthiest option, but I imagine since I said it was pretty well balanced with my palate being as crazy as it is right now, with my throat so sore that first sip looked like I was drinking whiskey, it probably is really smooth as well. But again, if you're a fan of West Coast IPAs, this isn't the most bitter one, but I think that's okay given that like most of them lean on that more than anything. I think this is a very inviting West Coast IPAs to those who are somewhere in the middle. Like I'm a freak, I can drink them all. I really like the very, very hops forward stuff is when I started drinking when I was on the West Coast. Like if you wanted a craft beer, if you wanted an IPA, that's what you were getting. There wasn't as much variety back in the day, says 31-year-old Isha now. Mankato Brewing has been around since 2010. They're awesome. Whatever style that you desire, Mankato's got your back. And I think anyone, West Coast IPA fans, or those even on the middle or the other end of the spectrum, can like these as well. If If you like these reviews, if you're a fan of the Hoppy Hour segments and series, don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Shout out again to everybody who watches the Sota Pod on YouTube, who watches our Hoppy Hours on YouTube as well. Before we bring Seth on here for our hockey segment of the show, just want to give a big shout to 7th Avenue Pizza. 7th Avenue Pizza is the best damn frozen pizza on the planet. And I feel like it's on sale everywhere right now. Whether it's Hy-Vee, Lunds and Byerly's, Jerry Foods, it's everywhere. It's everywhere these days. And if you cannot find it on the shelf, ask them, why don't you have 7th Ave on your shelf? It's the best damn frozen pizza in the world. And or follow them on social media, as Matt and the crew are super interactive on social media. They post where they have deals. They post where they're going to be in new locations. And they answer all your guys' questions like that. Great local company, amazing product. Fuck Domino's Pizza. 7th Ave is for you. 7th Avenue Pizza, proud supporter of the Sota Pod. Back for another week of hockey talk here, man. What a crazy week in St. Paul for hockey with the Frozen Four, with the Wild, still playing games, still humming along. I mean, it's been intense. It was so intense. I got my ass kicked by the Beers and whatever else is going around this spring. But how are you, buddy?
Doing good. Had a chance to, albeit briefly, get out to see Spoke Z, which was fun.
Yes, of course. Z was here this last weekend too.
Would have loved to have been able to be around for a little more of that, but did at least get a chance to confirm that he is in fact a real person. So that was fun.
He's a cartoon character, but
he's exactly what you would expect him to be, and that's what makes him great.
I didn't see a second of him sober. Now, I was sober in one case. Second case, I was not. But the whole time, he was in one.
Just a
for
weekend,
whatever that's worth.
A weekend-long bender.
Well, I mean, it was his vacation, so
he
vacationed.
He doesn't have anything that he's doing.
And Hoppy, hey, excuse to drink beers? Hell yeah, let's do it. Oh,
Don't
man.
need
No,
a
it was
reason.
good to meet him. The live stream we did on last Wednesday was epic. There was it stressed me out a little bit because there was no outline. It was just like, go. Hoppy's kid made an appearance, drooled all over. It was Kessie, the dog, was there. I don't think there was any coherence or straight path of topics. We just kind of shot the breeze and talked hockey. Beautiful madness, though. And so that was a lot of fun. And then, hanging out Thursday for the 2 NCAA semifinal games was fun as well. But go ahead.
A good weekend. Unfortunately, I just get so tired of these late games. I tweeted out because Saturday's game started at 9:40. And so I tweeted at 11:30. I'm like, we are just about to start period 3. I'm like, it is 11:30 p.m.
Dude, it was crazy, yeah, because Wild was late last night. And I know why Saturday obviously was the NCAA finals. But yeah, even UFC went pretty late as well. Usually pay-per-views go 6.5, 7 hours, but it damn near went almost 8.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was the pacing was fine, the fights are good, everything about it was amazing, but that's what I was busy with last night. And I remember I was going to bed, which I was gonna stay up and watch Japanese Muay Thai too, but I was like, no, I'm tapping out. Tapping out after forgetting 8-hour stream
tonight. And
I saw that Seth was still on doing the postcast, and I was like, fuck yeah, this game did start after the Frozen Four finals. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was just thank God there were some positives to pull, some fun performances, because if that would have been just another game, that would have been a tough one to recap.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm 100% on wanting the Wild to lose out so that they could get a good draft pick. Now Seth's stolen, or it's not Seth. Brett has stolen Mateo's thunder, and he's the one waving the flag for Zeev Buium. But I'm giving Mateo credit. He was the first one who wanted him part of the cast. But I think his stock has risen a little out of the Wild's grasp, especially if the Wild pick 12. I think this guy will go top 10 at least, anyways. So I guess that you can spin it as a negative. I guess because him and Denver won in the finals, that he's probably gonna be in the top 10. But speaking of the positives from the Sharks win, Minnesota Wild taking on the Sharks, even though I kind of smirked and was like, I kind of wanted the Sharks to beat them for the memes and just for the fact that I'm rooting for the Wild to get a good pick this year. Liam Ohgren, man, let's start there. I mean, yeah, he started in the AHL. No points there, but actually got a ton of looks. Everyone was impressed with his play, both the staff down there and the Minnesota Wild up top. He got some special team time, played in a couple games. No points, but impressed. The Vegas game, Vegas stomped on the Wild, but John Hines was still impressed with Liam Ohgren. And I noted that, I highlighted that, and I was like, okay, that's a very good thing to say in a game where I wasn't impressed with the Wild's performance overall. And then he comes to play against San Jose, man, and one of a couple prospects who came to play. But let's start with him, man. Let's start with him. What do you got to say on Liam Ohgren?
I'm just impressed with what he brings to the table, and the thing that stands out to me, and it's funny, Isha. Like I was talking about this in the postcast after the game. It seems weird that quick decision making, which just sounds like a basic skill, it seems weird that that's something that stands out, but with the players that the Wild have had, several of them just aren't super quick decision makers. And you look at Declan Chisholm is a guy that I know that about all the time, is just looking to quickly get rid of the puck whenever he has it. Liam Ohgren did the same thing. He won that puck battle along the boards. He gets the puck out to John Merrill, back to Chisholm, and then he lets it fly for that goal in which Ohgren gets his first career point. Quick decision. He goes and wins a puck battle and immediately gets rid of the puck.
Yeah.
And it just being willing to kind of get your hands dirty is something that is fun for a young player too. But I let's give Murat Huznadinov some props too. Adam Beckman looked good on his line. Liam Ohgren looked great on his line. And so Huznadinov is starting to develop some chemistry with those guys too, which is encouraging for beyond this season. But great backhand move by Ohgren to pick up his first career NHL goal. I love the confidence. He talked before the game about how he's putting himself in position to where he wants to make the team out of camp next year. And I've talked about this on my show quite a bit, that's why giving these guys these opportunities down the stretch this season is so important.
Yeah, no jitters come training camp or start of the season.
That's why giving Jesper that start against Dallas, even though it did not go well, that's why giving him that start was important. Yeah, you give these guys an opportunity to see for themselves where they're at compared to NHL talent. And so you've given Huznadinov a 10-game sample here. He's going to be able to take the entire offseason to get himself ready based on what he saw at the NHL level. Same thing for Liam Ohgren. They're going to take this opportunity to say, okay, I was able to hold my own, but here's what I need to do in order to be somebody that stands out. And they've stood out. That's the great thing about it. But to consistently stand out against other NHLers, now they get this opportunity to just kind of use it to check their skills and to improve over the offseason. It's been fun to watch those guys, and in a season that's going to end up being just a lost season with not making the postseason, these are the positives that you look to pull down the stretch with this team.
Absolutely. Drew a penalty also in the San Jose Sharks game, did Liam Ohgren, and hit the post late too, right? So he was active. Again, it was against the San Jose Sharks, who are playing for pride at this point, the vibes aren't good there. But I mean, this is a game coming off of that loss against Vegas, who are full steam ahead, right? Where it's good to see that he wasn't down in the dumps on his performance at all. He came back, brushed it off, coaches were confident in him, and he crushed it. So that was awesome to see. He's also going to be playing for Sweden in the IHF World Championship. And next week, next Sota Pod episode, we will dive into Team USA's roster once the NHL season is done. There were a lot more guys decide to go over the weekend, but by next Monday, by next Sunday when we record, we should have the roster for Team USA, or the starting roster anyways. As you know, we'll see if probably a few guys trickle over there after the first round, but man, USA looks good. Sweden looks good. I mean, the IHF World Championship should be a lot of fun as it goes down alongside the NHL playoffs. But yeah, Liam Ohgren, unlike Kuznetsov, who's probably going to take a little bit of a break, whether he goes back to Russia or not. I mean, I imagine he goes there for a little chunk of time, but I feel like he'll be in Minnesota earlier than later, or stay here a bit longer, do some training, and then come back for training camp. Whereas Ohgren, man, he's off to his next destination to play hockey, so he's going to be active this summer, which is awesome, given that, you know, he was recovering from surgery towards the end of last year. Jesper Wallstedt, he got his second NHL win. He also started in the San Jose Sharks game. Again, kind of the same things apply. The San Jose Sharks, not the best test, but it's better than an AHL test. What did you like about Jesper Wallstedt?
I just thought he did a good job of reacting, especially in close. Again, there were a few instances in which he took shots from right in front of him, but for the most part, the team did a good job of trying to kind of keep those lanes in front of Jesper clear. But, you know, on that point of, it's only the Sharks, like, it's still an NHL team, and it's still a team that we've seen from the Wild this year. They early on in the season, they struggled to beat San Jose. If not for a Kirill Kaprizov hat trick, they probably lose that game. So it's still NHL talent, and it's still valuable development for Jesper, for Ohgren, for Kuznetsov to get reps in. And, you know, you've seen now two games in a row in which Jesper it seems like he is playing confidently. And it seems like he's playing. It seems like he's playing at a level in which he kind of is starting to understand how the flow of the NHL game goes. Like he's starting to get the hang of, okay, this is how this works. You know, this is what happens when I face a rush of shots. Like he's getting an opportunity to see some of those situations, and through these last two starts, he's done a really good job of handling quite a few of them. Yeah,
I pretty much reflect everything you said there. It was really nice to see him so comfortable in the San Jose game.
And like, cool. You look at the goals that the Sharks scored. The one was off of Zach Bogosian's ass. Like,
yeah, no, exactly.
That was one of the goals. And so there's not a ton you can do about that. And if I recall correctly, I think the other goal that the Sharks scored was a deflected goal too.
Yeah, so he never lost anything like mano a mano or clean or wasn't able to track the puck or anything like that. They were
fluky deflected goals.
Exactly, deflected goals. No, I'm excited. I'm excited that he's been able to get some reps. He'll probably get one more, I imagine, before it's all said and done here in the last few games. I've liked Liam Ohgren getting time in the AHL and now the NHL and then the Worlds. I mean, he's going to be ready to go. You know, knock on wood, he stays healthy the remainder of this stretch, which, let's be honest, he's going to be fine. Love that Marat has come in. So as I'm going through a lot of these positives, these are my positives as we wrap up the season and go into next week or go into next year. Now, I'll probably have more throughout the summer. We'll probably have similar segments where we highlight like the good, the bad, and ugly. We'll find a better name for that segment. But you know what I mean as we continue this podcast throughout the offseason. But just right after the San Jose Sharks game, I noted these down. Number one, despite him getting a point, Goligoski will be gone next year.
Yep.
That's a and like I hate to shit on the guy, but that's a positive.
You want to talk about a blender, like seeing the scoring points? Yeah. Seeing the scoring on that sixth goal, Johansson from Goligoski and Merrill. I saw that and I'm like, this is all of the Locked On Wild demons coming home to roost at once. Like that was something else. But yeah,
though I think Merrill and Johansson will probably still be here next year. I got to imagine Goligoski's gone.
Goligoski definitely. At this point, I don't think it would seem like not a great fit for, like, let's say Goligoski
Well, it wasn't even a good fit this year.
Yeah, let's say he doesn't even want to retire necessarily. It just doesn't seem like it's a good fit here anymore. Like, you would think at the very least he would want to be a third pairing guy consistently. If he resigns here, he's probably the 8th defenseman.
Bro, he can be a first pairing guy in Iowa.
Ugh.
He's gonna retire if they even bring that up.
I think he'll retire. He probably
He just doesn't have it anymore.
understands.
And I've always liked Goligoski. I liked him in Dallas. Small stint in Arizona.
Well, he was
and
great.
when he came to the Wild, the beginning of the end was fine.
Yeah. He was like a plus, I think he was a plus like 41 in his first season here. And he had somewhere around 30 points. Like, he did fine. He did fine his first year. It's just Father Time, undefeated. We've talked about several times. Father Time just is not lost and will never lose.
Yeah, it's because he played way more in Arizona than I thought he did. I thought he played like 1 or 2 years there, but no, he played like 5. But anyways, his first year coming over from Arizona in 2021, 2022. You said it, 41 plus minus. He's plus 41, 30 points, 28 assists, and he played 72 games. And that was the last good season. Last year, he unfortunately fell off.
And it was tough because, you try to protect that third pairing, but we saw it in the postseason. We saw it against the key teams last year and this year. Like, teams just have a knack of finding a way to expose those guys. And it happened over and over and over this year. And that's just a spot that if John Merrill is going to be back, he's probably going to be your 7th defenseman. Depending on what happens with Jared Spurgeon, like, that roster spot is either going to go to a prospect, or maybe if Spurgeon is not able to return, maybe you bring somebody in. But I think the Goligoski ship is headed to harbor.
Yeah, it's a positive by subtraction. 1 more year salary cap hell. Now, I know they're still going to be in a salary cap bind, but salary cap bind is different than salary cap hell, because at least you're paying guys to play. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend back home, shout out to my buddy Dylan, who always brought that to my attention. He's like, when this is done for the Wild, they're going to have a lot of players tied up. There's going to be some big contracts. It's not like they're going to have a lot of space, but at least they have bodies playing who you're paying. Yeah. And even the Johanssons of the world, like, it's tough for me to say this, but like, even the Freddie Gaudreaus, I'd rather be paying someone to play, even poorly, than not being able to ice someone, because I have money back there. Now, I don't like the Freddie Gaudreau contract. I think Johansson's better than what he showed this year, but I don't like the no move on that one regardless. I'm not defending those two players. I'm certainly not defending Freddie Gaudreau. What I am defending is I would rather pay someone to play hockey than just have that linger, right, and be an anchor. So it is a positive in my book.
Yeah, and like, I laid out a scenario in my head in which I think you can be okay with having Freddie on this team if you put him in like he's your 4th line center. Because, like, you've got Eriksson Ek, you've got Rossi, you've got Huznadinov. Those are going to be your top 3 centers. And so if you pencil him in as your 4th line guy, that's probably okay. He probably is more suited for that type of a role than he is being a 3rd line wing, or even a, fill-in 2nd line guy.
Yeah, just anywhere in the top 6.
Yeah, like, because you're going to have Marcus Foligno back. He'll take one of those 3rd line spots. I would imagine Ryan Hartman will take the other, and those will be your line mates for Murat. Whoever ends up filling the 2nd line wing spot, whether it be Johansson or whoever else, like, I feel like there's just kind of a natural settling point for Freddie on that 4th line once the dust settles, to where your 4th line maybe is like Gaudreau, Mason Shaw, and maybe like Vinny Lettieri, which I feel like is a little better. Or even, depending on what happens with like Danila Yurov and some of those other guys, maybe you end up having like Hartman on that 4th line. And then all of a sudden that 4th line is way better than they showed this past season.
I can hear the YouTube comments already. You're going to pay a fourth line that much? Well, at that point, don't look at it as a traditional fourth line. Look at it as a matchup line where you can put that line out there against other teams like second lines right now and shut them down because they'll be skilled and they'll have enough speed anyways to do it. Maybe not skilled and speed enough to score, but at least definitely enough to match those lines, or another team's like good third line or something like that. It's going to be interesting, but I do think that, again, one more year of having just that linger where you can't play around with your team, play around with the cap like every other team, quite frankly, can. It's a positive. It's a positive. Now I know there's some teams who have a little bit of salary cap looming, but the Minnesota Wild have a big one. They got a big one.
Vegas.
Just Vegas, yeah. Although everybody in Vegas is playing now. Shout out Mark Stone's coming back.
As expected.
Oh man. Vegas, yeah, they're just, I mean, I got to tip my cap to them. I don't like them, but like they've set themselves up to win right now. Now, the dark days of Vegas, especially from the state of hockey, it's going to be fun. We're going to be smiling. We're going to be smiling at that. I may be a sick fuck, Seth, but I'm going to be smiling when that happens.
They just keep like their general manager just keeps like frantically sprinting to try to find a chair when at some point the music's going to stop and there will be no chairs within like 6 miles of them.
San Jose was able to do it for like almost 15 years, right? They were a top Western team. Now they didn't win a cup, and they're probably just like, God damn it, Vegas. They didn't win a cup, but they were up there for like, over a decade. The San Jose Sharks, through like 2 eras of me watching the Canucks kind of do their cycle, San Jose was good. So, yeah, I mean, it helps when like Thornton plays till he's freaking 40, but still, like, so it can happen. But look where San Jose is now, man. Look where Anaheim's another team out west who was good for, I would say Anaheim was good longer than the Sharks, because they had like the Korea Solani era go right into the Getzlaf Perry era. Then they had like Kessler come over from the Canucks. They had like 2-3 more years after that. So yeah, and then look at Anaheim right now though. So it's a cycle with every team except for the Wild, who just have never climbed high enough to fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've been that flat heart rate monitor to where you're not up here, you're also not down here.
Yeah.
And, it was Russo tweeted yesterday that it's pretty fitting that the Wild right now are at the number 12 overall pick when the first 11 have the opportunity to move up for the first overall.
So Minnesota.
He's like, that's pretty fitting. And I was like, he's out of line, but he's right.
If only they lost to the Sharks. I'll fire through these last ones here, then you can comment on which ones you want. Kirill, 3-time 40-goal scorer for the Minnesota Wild. That is huge. That is historic. Brock Faber is, boom, a top defenseman, not only on this team, but in the entire league after 1 year. That's a huge positive. Marco Rossi breaking through 20 goals, and he's had an awesome, true rookie season. And one of the Russians has already arrived and has played a ton of hockey for the pro team as well. And I think that's also huge moving forward if Yurov is going to stay in the KHL, or if he's not going to get a chance to play as seamlessly as that of a Riley Height, for example. So those are my positives. I noted those right after the Sharks game. Anything that I missed right now? Or
no, it's I had a commenter point out in my live show yesterday how interesting it is that it seems like this team is trending now towards having a bunch of forward depth, like center depth, forward depth, to where over the past few seasons, we've just been like, they could just get here. You could have some real good pieces to this puzzle. And all of a sudden now you can go Eriksson Ek, Rossi, who's Nadinov down the middle. You've got Liam Ohgren, who will fill a spot. You've got Danila Yurov is lurking and will at some point within the next probably year or so make an impact. Like, we're starting to see an influx of some of this young talent, and that's not to say some of the other guys like Firstov, Nemestikov, like these guys all have signed their ELCs too. Like the youth wave is
it's
starting.
Coming.
It's starting to get here, and how about this? I've come up with a theory as to how I think the goalie situation, how a potential fun way to handle Thursday's game against Seattle. So
I'm all ears.
here's what I think you do, because obviously final home game of the season. I think you start Fleury, but I think you pull him
Oh,
like during the game, during a period, like you commercial break, you pull him, like you see them do in other sports, like basketball in particular, where they'll take a timeout and they'll sub guys out to allow the crowd an opportunity to give them a raucous
yeah.
ovation. Because I think Gustafsson he'll get the Kings game. I think then you go Fleury and Jesper for the finale. Kind of a fun kind of a passing of the torch.
I like that. I'm convinced Fleury's coming back though.
Everything that I've seen has trended towards that being the case.
And I'm so okay with that. Like I really am. Like, and God, maybe I'm just being like too impatient. But it's just like, if Gustafsson even did a little bit of what he did the year prior, I'd be like, no, fuck that. Like Gustafsson and Wallstedt, that's your two moving forward. But like, and I'm not saying it's easy to bring in another goalie. We talked about this on your show. We talked about this on Sota Pod last week as well. But if Fleury can even play just what he did this year, even a little bit less than what he did this year, like the Wild aren't expected to make a lot of noise next year anyways. Next year is let's get the youth in the door. Then when salary cap permitting, when those two contracts are off the books, boom, then we pounce. Then managers make some bigger moves. It's like they have to get one of Johansson or Fetty Goudreau out of there next year. They have to. Yeah. That or Foligno. Like they just quite frankly have to create some more room. Goalie's going to be interesting. I'm both okay and convinced Fleury's coming back. To your fun scenario though, I would have no issue with that, especially given where the Wild are this season. I mean, these games are just time for these guys to play. I mean, it's a job for them at this point. They're competing for pride, and they're seeing, and the Wild management are seeing what they have looks wise with the Youngs guys. I just don't know if Fleury would be on board for that. I feel like he has too much pride to be able, if he starts a game, he wants to finish it unless he's let in the amount of goals or had a shitty night where it's like deserving to be pulled.
Yeah, because then the other spin to that too is you're getting Jesper ready because that'll be something that he's going to have to do at some point in his career. So you're giving him
coming in relief. Like
you're giving him an opportunity.
I like it, and I think it's actually kind of smart by the coaches to do that, because this is the point of the season where it's basically like a training camp again.
Yeah,
it's basically like a preseason again. The games don't matter for the Wild as far as getting looks, right?
The key thing, though, is would Fleury be on board for that? And that's...
Especially if you're trying to bring him back, yeah.
Because he's somebody, too, that is pretty quick to deflect the spotlight. So he would probably not be super thrilled with that, just because he is way more of a team-first guy. And that would probably be viewed in his eyes as a distraction. Yeah.
I mean, I think the only way that scenario would play out is if Wallstedt didn't know about it, because if he knew about it, then it'd be kind of moot and like, hey, bringing him in relief.
Yeah,
and that Fleury does know about it, but there's just a lot of layers to it too. Because Wallstedt, I know goalies are warm, so a lot of them will go and like skate a little bit, but they're not warm coming in relief. And if Wallstedt is like really like has no clue of what's going on, then he's like, oh shit, like. Yeah, I go in there for this one. Not that like Seattle's Vegas or Dallas, but still. Interesting. I haven't had anybody bring that up yet. I don't even think we've seen that happen other than in preseason.
And that's where I came up with that, was like you see it in other sports, and I was like, oh, that would be kind of cool to do it that way in front of the home fans one more time. But if he is coming back, then you just cheer for him every game next year too.
Yeah. Fan favorite, which is awesome here.
And the big question too, Isha, with all this is, and I asked Jessie this in her appearance last week on Locked On, who do you want mentoring Jesper? Do you want a first ballot Hall of Famer, or do you want a guy who, and again, nothing on Philip Gustafsson, but
a guy who's still trying to figure it out for himself.
Yeah,
he's still a young goalie.
That's
you want a Hall of Famer, 100%.
That's the direction that
Bro,
I
if
think
they
I would
can get
trend
a
to.
piece back for Gustafsson too, someone will trade for him. Someone will trade a draft pick for him. Someone will.
New Jersey Devils make that trade tomorrow.
Oh, bro, they could do that at the draft.
Yeah.
And actually get a little some. I like that. We're gonna stay on that next week. That's all I have for Wild talk here. Let's quickly talk a little bit about the National Hockey League and just the global scale of hockey, starting with the NCAA. The last we'll talk about the NCAA for a little while until draft season anyways. Denver University wins the Frozen Four. They win the NCAA championship. Well-deserved, Seth, as when I watched some of the NCHC finals live with our boy Mateo against Omaha, there was just a lot that I loved about him. I loved their systems. I loved how some of these guys skated. I loved how they were resilient. You could tell that, despite there being some really good individual talents on that team, it wasn't a team made of just primarily individual best recruits. Like, there were some, don't get me wrong, but like it just seemed like it was whole. There weren't many cracks in their games. If they did mess up, they were quick to resolve them. I was rooting for them. I didn't really have a dog in this race once the Gophers were out. So that was really cool to see. We talked earlier in the show. Unfortunately, Zeev's draft stock is likely going to go up at least into the top 10. But if he somehow falls even to like anywhere between 9 and 12, the Wild better pick up the phone at least and try to move up.
I think if he makes it to like 9, I think you're going to see the Wilds, because like this is another thing that is going to need to be looked at. And let's say, the Devils, for instance, at pick number 10. Maybe you jump up with them. The Wild have, I think, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and 2 sevenths in 2026. So Bill Guerin's got some ammunition to work with. Bunch of prospects in the prospect pool too. He's got ammunition to work with. And so if that's a guy that they identify as like, if he's around where we're at, let's go get him. Let's not grossly overpay, to hop up to like 5 or 6. Oh, no. But if he's available and you got to toss the Devils or the Flames a pick to move up, I would not be surprised at all if they go that route.
Yeah, so I have Tankathon up right now. I'll bring it up on the screen here in a sec. But how they have their projections, they have obviously Celebrini number 1, Demidov number 2, Leshunov number 3. As we go down and down, though, number 9, Zeev Buum to the Flames, and Tisha Ginla at number 12 to the Minnesota Wild. Now, I don't think Tisha Ginla's stock is going to drop that much. He doesn't have any points in the second round of this WHL series yet that we'll get into before we close out the show. But and he's young. He's the youngest player in this draft, so he might regress a bit. But don't mind that name. Just but I want the Wild drafting a defenseman. But I know the season's not done, Seth, but it's the time of the year to do this. So let's fire it up here. Let's fire it up. The NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. Oh, look at that. Celebrini going to Utah. So we got Utah, San Jose, and the Chicago Blackhawks as 1, 2, 3. Obviously, Wild can't move, so Tisha Ginla is still the spot.
Man, that poor Coyotes fans.
Man, let's just talk about it right here again. Congratulations, Denver. I don't know. Did you watch any of the game on Saturday or Thursday? Do you have anything you want to add to it? If not, we can jump right into Arizona.
I listened to the championship game on my way back home from the cities. Did not end up going to the game, but did listen to a good majority of it. And it's just fitting too, with all those options that were going up against them, that Denver made, like that they got the shutout. Like, it just felt like defense and goaltending was going to win out, and it certainly did.
Yeah, man, they're awesome. They're awesome, and not everyone's coming back next year, but a decent amount should. So they should be stellar again.
And that was the first. That was the first time that Boston got shut out, wasn't it?
I believe it was actually. Someone was sending me that stat. That's crazy.
Not not a bad time to shut a team out for the first time in the championship game.
Yeah.
Because then all you need is one goal.
Yeah, no, I was dialed into the semifinal games as I was downtown watching those there. I had like one small screen the finals yesterday, then obviously it was UFC 300, so that got priority. Man, let's talk a little about the Arizona Coyotes here. A couple more things on the NHL side before we wrap up, guys. But Arizona Coyotes players were informed last week that the NHL franchise will be moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. Next season, 2024-2025, the Delta Center will be renovated to be able to, be suitable for hockey. This actually might affect the early schedule of the league, so just keep your eyes out on that, guys. I know when because the Islanders, they're always hopping rink to rink. They've had, back in the day with Nassau, they had always renovations and things like that, and as a result, it was evident when they started off on the road for like 10 to freaking 15 games. Sometimes there was 10 to 12 games at times. So I do think, things go slow construction wise. I do think their home opener will be a few weeks after opening season or the opening season for the National Hockey League next year. But maybe not. We'll see how much renovations they have to do. It's just something I wanted to note. GM Bill Armstrong told the players and the public, last week again, it just seems to me, Seth, that this is like an uneventful ending to a long saga where the last few weeks leading up to this news, it finally seemed like they had found a spot to build. And I think the question we all had when we heard that news was, well, how many years is this going to take? Because they cannot keep playing at the college rink. For me, Seth, before I get your thoughts on this, I remember, I think it was 2014, so 10 years ago, that felt like there was a lot of buzz when they were about to move. And they were about to move to Seattle at that time. And I remember I was listening to hockey radio and Elliot Friedman was like, yeah, there's literally semi-trucks packed with shit from Arizona idling right now waiting to get the word. Arizona, they obviously re-signed a deal and they continued to operate for the next 10 years after that. That to me, though, there was buzz. There was almost like a big eventful ending to the story. This didn't seem like it at all. It kind of just like hit the newsroom desk and was like, oh, fuck, it's over. And no one really saw that coming. What were your thoughts when you first heard this?
We've been hearing about rumors of Arizona moving for years. And
10 plus years.
It just felt like the NHL finally got sick of waiting. Like they kept extending opportunities to Arizona to get their side of things figured out, find lands to build an arena. And it seemed like every obstacle that could possibly get in the way did. And the NHL finally just got tired of waiting. So this whole thing has just been bizarre, honestly, to see play out to where basically now the NHL is going to buy the Coyotes from Morello and sell them to
Ryan Smith. Not the former Edmonton Oiler, but the owner of the Utah Jazz.
But then there's also a contingency that if the Coyotes would be able to get land, like if they would be able to secure land to build an arena, that then the NHL is going to turn around and award them an expansion franchise.
Yeah, so I did hear that. I heard that in the next 5 years, not even just land, if they have an arena ready to go, they will be the next expansion team, which again, I think there's I know it's not even I think there's a possibility. I know hockey can work there when they have a good team. Mm-hmm. I know I've seen it happen before. I have friends there who are just as crazy hockey fans as us up here. Is it a smaller number? Yes. But when they're winning, dude, we saw the first round of the playoffs. That thing is full. That's more than you could say about the Florida Panthers before they kind of came back into a team that like we know now is good. And I know Florida's an easy comparison there because it's not it's not Tampa Bay. It's outside of Miami. And it's it's a good comparison to the market of Arizona. But Arizona, like they're sports fans. And if they're winning, casuals will start watching too. And I've seen the support when they make the playoffs. I've seen the support when they have good years. I've seen them rally around not even their superstars. Because as much as I love Shane Doan, dude, Shane Doan is far from an NHL Hall of Famer, but he's their Hall of Famer, right? And he's royalty to them. Like, imagine if they had like a revolving door of good players throughout their time there. It would have been something special. Now, they moved from Winnipeg in 1996. They became the Arizona Coyotes from the Phoenix Coyotes in 2014, and now they're going to Utah in 2024. The official sale between Morello and Ryan Smith is set to be completed after the NHL regular season.
And like Morello is keeping all of the Arizona.
He's keeping, yes, that's great to point out. When you say like he's going to sell that to the NHL. So yeah, all the Coyotes branding, trademark, Kachina logo, all that the NHL and Morello will still have in their back pocket. Utah's going to be something completely different.
What a weird thing.
The Storm and Mormons, baby.
And it just like, it just happened so quickly. Like, it seemed like this land auction was going to be like, okay, this will be the thing that will get them to stay. And then all of a sudden, like, it just kept moving downhill. And when you push a boulder downhill, there is not a lot you can do to stop it.
No. Yeah, no,
it's funny too. Like the Coyotes have made one statement, and that was from Morello saying, "Hey, legally, I can't really say anything, but I want to when I legally can." Like, beyond that, they've been pretty quiet on.
I know
that front.
That's been the big thing too. They do have a lot of young players to
other than tweeting that they're committed to hockey in Phoenix, which when the news breaks that you're moving to Utah and you tweet out that you're committed to playing in Phoenix, that tells way two completely different messages.
Committed to playing in a college barn, maybe. Come on now. Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting going from Phoenix or Arizona to Utah. Utah, it might be more of a hockey town, to be honest. They've hosted big hockey events, big world hockey events. I'm pretty sure there's an ECHL. There was an AHL team there as well. So I think it'll get a lot of support. I think for professional athletes, and I've heard stories about, Utah Jazz players, not the most fun city to be a millionaire professional athlete in, but maybe hockey's a little bit different, because I know that there's like smaller market hockey cities that NHL players just love, because it's like they can fly PJ somewhere else on their breaks, but when they're in it in an 82 game season, it's like there's not really much distractions anyways, unless you go full Evander Kane.
Well, that is certainly an option available to
Buddy got distracted in Winnipeg. Okay, he's posting pictures of him with fat stacks of cash, pretending it to be a phone in Winnipeg. And now he's in Edmonton. Thank God he's in Edmonton now.
He would love Fargo.
Oh my dude. He would leave it to Evander Kane to find himself in a scandal as a professional athlete in Fargo.
He's the James Harden of the NHL.
Oh my God. Well, I was going to say, Harden doesn't think the Earth's flat.
But Harden is more than willing to drop stacks at the strip club. Like he
hides them in his beard.
That's one of my favorite parts about the NBA is just the outrageous things that they track. And there was somebody, and I don't remember the numbers, but there was somebody that tracked Harden's performances in particular cities based on the proximity of strip clubs to the arena.
God.
Like
that's the analytics we need Brett to bring us. Those are the analytics we need from the Sound the Foghorn, baby. I want to know, when Hartman goes to Vegas, does his wires cross more or less after? You know what I mean? If he's able to let out some steam, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Do his wires cross as much? Will he take as many penalties?
Does Marcus Johansson hit when he has 15 on the table in blackjack?
Right? Oh man, we need these stats. Especially now that Vegas has a team, we need these fucking stats. Wow. I'm all in on that shit too. I got a lot of stuff now for this.
I like to climb down the rabbit hole every now and again.
Oh, this is a great rabbit hole. I'm literally like noting it right now for summer content. But anyways, two quick things and then we'll sign off here, guys. obviously the playoffs are upon us, and me being a Vancouver Canucks fan, very excited to see how the Vancouver Canucks fare in the Stanley Cup playoffs, given that I didn't even think they were going to be a playoff team. I saw a tweet from Canucks Twitter that popped up earlier today, which was just trolling Edmonton fans. So now Edmonton and Vancouver Canucks fans, kind of like Chicago and Wild fans or Avs and Wild fans, they kind of just always go at it when both of the teams are good. All 4 times the Canucks played the Oilers this season, Seth, they won. They beat them 8-1 early in October. They beat them 4-3 late October, 6-2 in November, and just 3-1 the other night here in April. I mean, I know they were spread out, but that's 4 games, baby. That was 4-0. If the Canucks and Edmonton meet in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I'm way more confident than I was going into the season.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like we're getting to the point where we got to start keeping an eye on these potential playoff matchups, like Dallas and Vegas. Round 1 is what we're looking at.
Bloodbath of a series.
Vancouver and Nashville, and
that one scares me the most.
Listen, look at this too. The fact that the Winnipeg Jets have flipped with the Avs and potentially now have home ice advantage against Colorado, a team that's 39-1 at home. Like that one,
West?
and it's one game. It's one game. I get that, but if it is the difference between having to play a game 7 in Winnipeg or in Colorado, that means everything.
Oh yeah, 100%. Dude, it's actually so crazy how the West is top heavy. Like overall, the Western Conference doesn't have the depth that the East has. The East has the better teams, but the top of the West is going to be, they're studs, and it's going to be the most entertaining round. The first round in the West is going to be the most entertaining round of the playoffs. Like bloodbath after bloodbath after bloodbath. Where the East, I feel like there's going to be a couple series that after a game or two, okay, we know how this is going to go. Toronto's going to choke and we're going to move on. Little tongue in cheek, but it's actually going to happen. Whereas like the West, anything can happen. Nashville can beat the Canucks. Winnipeg can beat the Avalanche. Dallas can beat Vegas. I mean, dude, it's going to be wild. Edmonton can either crash and burn or go all the way. And LA, I guess LA is the only one I'm kind of counting up, but still.
Well, and you look at the East too. So New York Rangers, they've got the number 1 spot right now. So they'll play Washington, Washington is such a weird team.
Philly could jump Washington. If Pittsburgh loses and Philly beats Washington, Philly gets the spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God. But then you
regardless, Philly, Washington, whatever, they're gonna lose.
But then because Carolina is in the same division as New York, correct me if I'm wrong, but then Boston would be the other. Boston would get Tampa Bay in the first round. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude. I fucking love the playoffs, man.
And then you got Florida and Tampa Bay and Carolina and the Islanders. That one's gonna be. Well, then again, I shouldn't say that because Carolina, if their goaltending gets leaky at all, that could be dangerous for them.
Yeah, Carolina, I don't have a pulse on. They're either going to do really well or they're going to drag games late and maybe outscore their opponent. But Nashville out west fucking scares me, man. Because they don't have the firepower, but they play a near perfect shutdown game. And Suter and Weber gave me nightmares as a kid against the Sedins. Now, they don't have a Suter or Weber right now, but Yossi's still top of his game. And Nashville's, speaking we talk about how Denver played such a good system in the NCAA finals. Nashville all season has been playing a system that no one can figure out, dude.
Yeah.
Gotta love it when a GM as good as Barry Trotz is in the coach's ear as well, right? Who has such a good coaching record.
Nashville is the heart team. Nashville is the Florida of this year's playoffs. Mark my words.
Well, I hope they don't play Vancouver in the first round now. But anyways, last thing, speaking of playoffs, there's just one series that's going on right now in the WHL. Now, I love the WHL playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. The OHL playoffs have had some upsets as well. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Memorial Cup or Memorial Day weekend. That's when the Memorial Cup is, where the best team in the dub, the host team, best team in the OHL and QMJHL will play. They play, I think, 2 or 3 games round robin to seed, a semifinal tournament. Then they play just like how the NCAA do it, 1 game elimination, and it's so much fun. But right now in the respected Western Hockey League playoffs, some awesome series going on. Kelowna getting by Wenatchee was huge, as Wenatchee came into the BCHL actually a few years ago, Seth. Took 2 years to develop, won the BCHL, and then the Winnipeg Ice of the WHL moved to Wenatchee. Now they took a step up to become a WHL team, major junior, and they've just continued to grow that program and put Ice, a really good team, even a step up from junior A in major junior. Kelowna, despite only having 33 wins and 30 losses on the season, 71 points behind the BC division's leading Prince George Cougars, who had 102 points and 49 wins. That's why the Kelowna Rockets were behind them. And then pretty much neck and neck with the Vancouver Giants and the Victoria Royals. Here, I'll share it on screen so those watching on YouTube can see it as well. Look at the difference between, Prince George is, one of the best teams in all of major junior right now. But in this division, the fact that Kelowna, though you're going to be surprised yourself looking at some of these guys' points, though the guys are scoring, the BC division was just, it was teams with high scores and young players going at it, whereas Prince George was just slaying them, and then they would lose most of their games outside of those divisions. But highly touted prospect who is still 17 years old, Tisha Ginla, that's right, Jerome Ginla's son, took a massive step forward this year, Seth. And it wasn't like he was just getting all of the assists, all of the points, all of the looks by Andrew Crystal. He did get a lot of them. Andrew Crystal, being a second rounder with the Washington Capitals, put up an unbelievable 111 points. Tisha Ginla last year went from his first full rookie season of getting a respectable 18 points in 48 games to 84 and 64, dude. Jeez. With 47 goals. How are you? He plays like Iggy, man. He plays like his old man, just a little faster, because that's the era of hockey now. This, despite them being down 2 in the series to Prince George, it has been electric, man. Zach Funk, by the way, just signed as a free agent with the Washington Capitals. He was undrafted, 123 points. He's a 20-year-old. He's an overager, but just like, those 20-year-old, 22-year-olds coming out of college, he's a free agent coming out of the dub. Riley Height, who's just been the fucking engine for this team, 80 assists, 37 goals, 117 points. He's got 10 points in 6 games thus far in the playoffs right now. But again, just if you guys have the ability to watch, and if you don't know where to watch, hit me up on Twitter at VS Sports Talk or on YouTube. I will point you in a direction where you can watch these games in the States. If you're going to watch this series, highly recommend it, and then watch the finals of the WHL, because they're going to be great. Tisha Ginla, Zach Funk, Andrew Crystal, keep your eyes on them, as well as your boy Riley Height. But how lucky are the Capitals, Seth, that they're going to get Funk and Andrew Crystal possibly next year?
Well, and my eyes aren't what they used to be, but that stat line said that he had 67 goals in 68 games, right?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, dude. Zach Funk is unbelievable. 67. He was a goal per game.
He'd be a great fit for the St. Louis Blues.
Good BC boy too. Funk. Shout to
their
the Washington
social
Capitals.
media their social media team would tweet out, bring in the Funk on a nightly basis.
Oh my goodness. What I love about him too, as I'll bring him back up, is he played for, I have a special place in my heart for the Calgary Hitmen. I had season tickets to them when I lived in Calgary. My first junior hockey jersey that I ever bought was a Calgary Hitmen jersey. Really cool stuff there. They played in the Saddle Dome, so even though there wasn't a lot of, it didn't feel like more of an intimate game that is junior hockey and atmosphere. It was still cool that whenever they scored, they got the pyrotechnics going. They shot the flames out. And then when they made the playoffs, they'd close the upper part, but pile everybody in for cheap. And they'd get sometimes 10, or I guess 9 to 10,000 people in the Saddle Dome for junior hockey, which was pretty awesome. He was fine with Calgary, came to Prince George, and just absolutely lit it up. It was crazy, man. Like, he was pretty much a point per game player, then came to Prince George and was a goal per game player, which was unbelievable. So super proud of him. I know an overager, but super wicked talented overager. And these are the type of lottery tickets that the Washington Capitals need, given that they have no draft picks either moving forward.
Yeah, they're in a bit of a tough spot.
You could say they're in a funk, Seth.
Like that. Then again, they are only 6 points behind us.
Dude, it's crazy with their goal differential. I think they're like third or fourth last in the league.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Ick.
Shout out to Ovi and the boys. That's all I got here, Seth. Thanks for jumping on as always. The voice is still intact. We're good. What do you got coming up on Locked On Wild this week, guys? Don't forget to subscribe on his YouTube channel. Check out his live streams. Check out his podcast on YouTube, as well as find it wherever you get your podcast from as well. What do you got cooking this week?
We are going to get you set for the final 2 games of the season. Obviously, the Wild play the Kings tonight. Another late game. Whoop-de-doo. And final game on Thursday against the Kraken. I am giving the state of the state on Friday. So that should be fun, going to just assess where we're at. And then Monday, we go full bore into the off season. We'll do a week probably of recapping the year, maybe 2 weeks, week or two of recapping.
Think we can
season.
Find enough stuff to talk about for 2 weeks?
We can definitely get one. I'll see if maybe I can spin a few things. You know, I'm like a DJ at a club. Like, we'll just see if I can get the record to spin in a different way to make some great
I'll find
sounds.
some things we can spin too.
But then after that, like, we're going to be doing report cards for players. All, like, we'll go through the whole roster. We'll talk about some of the prospects that we saw at points this season and how they factor into to next year. And we'll talk, of course, a ton of draft too. Like, it's going to be a full off season. There's a lot to discuss. There are a lot of key questions for this team going forward. And that's, I think, the most exciting part for me is just because the games are done doesn't mean the work is done. Like, we're just getting started, baby. There's a lot to go into.
Draft is going to be fun, and every week Seth's going to be here on the Sota Pod, and we're very excited for that. Best part of the week, as I say. And let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know in the comments of this video if Seth has to come up one Sunday and we just do for a few Sundays, and we include him in the Hoppy Hour, and we do some brewery tours. As forgot to give you your care package the last time I saw you, but now I'll just give you an updated one when I see you next. But let me know in the comments if you want Seth to join the Hoppy Hour for a few segments this summer, as we don't necessarily rag the puck, but we still grind, we still work hard to bring you guys stuff every week. Go subscribe to his channel, guys. Locked On Wild Seth every week. It's awesome. Appreciate you. We will see you on the next one.
Isha, always a pleasure.
That's it, guys. That is the show. Big shout out to Seth, who joined us again. A little bit of a shorter episode this week, but that's just, I don't even know how I still have a voice at this point in the weekend, but we got through it, and I appreciate every single one of you who rode along with us here. Again, go check us out on YouTube for YouTube clips, video clips of the podcast, live streams, and of course, the full episode of the Sota Pod. And if you just support us on your podcast app, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a kind review, as it just gets us in front of more listeners. Before we wrap up here, I just want to say thank you to Better Edge for making me rich this weekend. All right, they didn't make me rich, but I won big on UFC. I won big on college hockey, and I won a little bit on golf, and I don't know shit about golf. Better Edge is a legal betting platform in the state of Minnesota, as well as 44 other states in the US of A. They're a local company. They do great work there. And I'm a big fan, guys. I'm a huge fan of Better Edge, as I've been using it more and more with NHL picks. I've been using it more and more with UFC and MMA. And I've been loving these wild game day pickups that Hoppy has been posting. $5 entry, winner take all. You get to pick 7 out of the 10 points, money line, player point totals. More competitions to come as well. And if you're loving this platform, if you've already used the $20 sign-up bonus, betteredge.com/SotaPod, and you want to become a premium member, you can do that as well. betteredge.com/premium. players have access to free entry to premium pick'em contests, order grades, advanced order filterings, API access, and more. More details again at betteredge.com/premium. But if you're new to the app, betteredge.com/sotapod, claim a $20 signing bonus, turn it into 40, turn it into 60, turn it into $100. And if you need UFC picks, I'm your guy. Better Edge, a proud supporter of the Sota Pod. Thank you to those tuning in on Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thank you to those tuning in on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Signing off, I'm Isha Reviews alongside Seth TOUPAL. This has been the Sota Pod, presented by our friends at Better Edge, 7th Avenue Pizza, Northland Vodka, and Waggle Golf. Don't fear, just drink some beer and stay wild.